On July 23rd, and the weekend to follow, Major League Baseball finally returned to start a shortened season of just 60 games. Even this Seattle Mariners fan had hopes that my team could play good ball in that small sample size of games. Now, a lot of protocols had to be put in place to help mitigate the spread of COVID-19 among teammates and ball clubs. Very early on in the season, a few teams had outbreaks that kept them from playing several games. But for the most part, it seems teams did a good job of being safe and getting to play the majority of their games. Coronavirus is not the only thing Major League Baseball players had to be concerned with. As we all know, racial tensions have been magnified with a few disgusting decisions by a small group of people, including a few police officers, most notably with a man named George Floyd. We're not here to get into a discussion on the productivity of protests and riots, the unnecessariness of looting, or whether police brutality is isolated or widespread. But when professional sports like baseball and basketball returned to play, players had to make a choice on how they would deal with what to do when the national anthem was played. Most players chose to kneel. I believe not in protest of our country's flag, but as a way to say that racial tensions we are seeing are real and need to be addressed. Now, whether you agree with the method used, I think most people would agree with the need to address racism in our country. So if a player felt the need to kneel, it wasn't meant for a bad cause, like to disrespect the American flag. It was meant for a good cause, like ending racism in America. But was that all the kneeling represented? I'm not sure. Some say the kneeling was to show support of the Black Lives Matter movement and organization, and not just the statement that Black Lives Matter. And when you look into the movement and organization known as Black Lives Matter, it should make any follower of Jesus pause before they take a knee in support of it. And that's why at least one of those players, a San Francisco Giant pitcher named Sam Coonrod, chose not to kneel. When asked for his reason for not kneeling, Sam said he doesn't kneel for anything besides God. In fact, here's the majority of his statement from an article written a few days after that first game. I'm a Christian, so I just believe I can't kneel before anything besides God. I don't think I'm better than anybody. I'm just a Christian. I feel if I did kneel, I'd be a hypocrite. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I just can't get on board with a couple of things I've read about Black Lives Matter, how they lean toward Marxism, and they said some negative things about the nuclear family. I just can't get on board with that. I'm not mad at someone who decided to kneel. I just don't think it's too much to ask that I just get the same respect. The 27-year-old relief pitcher's decision immediately reminded me of when Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Daniel's three friends with him in Babylon, had to make a similar decision. The funny thing about those three young men is we don't remember them by their Jewish names, but rather by the names given to them by the Babylonian captors. You know those names, don't you? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Why is it that we only really know them by those names? It's probably because of the events of Daniel chapter 3 are what stand out to us about them most, and it is in that chapter where their new names are used rather than their Jewish names. Like the call to take a knee in support of Black Lives Matter movement and organization, these three men were asked to kneel before something besides their God. In this case, it was to bow before a 90-foot statue of the Babylonian king, Nebuchadnezzar. If they didn't bow, they were promised a plunge into a blazing furnace. That had to be a surprise outcome for any one of the officials in the king's court who might have felt like not kneeling because their king was losing it and out of his mind. Now it was kneel or die. When in your life are you being challenged to take a knee? To bow to something the world around you is telling you it's okay to bow to? What is looming large and casting a shadow on your life that's trying to get you to give in to the pressure? To live a holy, holy life means to live a life that stands out for good and for God, to set an example for others to see and to follow. You know, good and God don't always get the most affection and attention in our culture anymore. When unholy living is celebrated and godly living is tolerated, we find ourselves in a place of taking a knee or facing the heat. Daniel 3:13 says the king flew into a rage when he learned that these three men wouldn't bow. I find it interesting how he forgot how highly he esteemed them just a few short years earlier, All they had done in the past didn't matter because in the present they weren't doing what he wanted them to do. I think this is what we are seeing all around our country right now. People are enraged by what they are seeing, and they are reacting with outbursts of anger, dissension, division, and hostility. And why is that? Because those are the fruit of sin in our lives, the fruit of an unholy land. But the fruit of a holy, holy life is obvious too. It's love, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And as I read Daniel 3 and see the response of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to the king, I get this sense of patience, not rage, peace, not hostility, self-control, not out-of-control fury. They knew who held the real power in their lives, and it wasn't the Babylonian king. It was the King of Kings. The one Daniel would later say gives the kingdoms of this world to whomever he pleases. I'm certain Sam Coonrod felt the heat from reporters and social media ever since his decision to not drop to one knee on July 23rd. And yet at the start of September, Sam said something worth mentioning here. He said, "I stick by what I did. I definitely stick by what I did. I meant no ill will by it. I definitely stick by what I did." And why is that worth mentioning? Because I believe Sam, like those other three young men 26 centuries before him, didn't back down from what matters most to them. All four of them would rather be known for following their God than following the culture. And that takes guts in you, and that takes trust in God. And when you choose to stand up for God, God will choose to stand up with you. He did for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Because when King Nebuchadnezzar was told by these three godly men, "No, we don't need to kneel," he lost it. And didn't just throw them in the furnace. He had it set 7 times hotter than usual and had the strongest men in the army bind them with ropes so there was no chance for escape. Once in the inferno, everything changed. The king was in utter shock that not only were they freed from the ropes and walking freely in the furnace, but there was a fourth figure with them who looked like a god. And when they came out of the flames, there wasn't a smell of smoke on them. No hairs were singed and not a piece of clothing was scorched. The only comparison I can give to this is it would be like having a meeting in a Starbucks and not smelling like coffee when you leave. When you choose to live a holy, holy life in an unholy land, you are guaranteed to face the heat. But God guarantees you won't face it alone because He will be with you. You are guaranteed to be tossed into some of the hot circumstances, but God guarantees your circumstances won't overcome you because He has already overcome the world. And you are guaranteed to be challenged, maybe demanded to bow and kneel to the customs and the culture of this world. But God guarantees that once you've chosen to follow Him, the only time you need to kneel is when everyone will need to kneel to Him one day in eternity, because every knee will bow at the name of Jesus.